That's the first time I've heard that.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. We're a smaller group this morning, but say it's not quantity, it's quality. So this morning, our topic is incentivization and volunteering. Is it a paradox? And I suppose where we got the idea to address this in this session was really from the Kruger report, and some of you have been in other VOL sessions where we've looked at other themes that arose out of this report that a member of Parliament in England actually created a few months back, and in it there were lots of different things about volunteering, citizenship, participation, etc. And in it, he alludes to rewards for young people's time spent volunteering. And he talks about offering discounts from retail partners, plus further opportunities, advice and guidance in a similar way to the Young Scot card in Scotland. So we thought it was an opportunity maybe to look at this concept again, which I've been around long enough to know that it's not new. It has been around for a long time, but for some of you, it may well be a new concept. I looked up incentivization in the dictionary just to see what it said, and it's talked about an act or process of providing incentives to make something more attractive. And an incentive is a thing that motivates or encourages someone to do something. So I suppose Volunteer Now always talks about volunteering as being about choice. We always talk about the importance of the volunteers' motivation when they come to volunteering. We always talk about it being a two-way process. So what do things like incentives bring to that debate? What do they bring to that story as such? Does it change the relationship at all? What does it mean? So we're delighted that we actually have someone from the Young Scot card, which was mentioned in the Kruger report. So we thought who better to tell us about that than someone from that organisation. So we're delighted that Danielle Logan is joining us today, and is going in a few moments. I'm going to just ask her to tell us a wee bit more about her organisation and tell us a wee bit more about this idea of incentivisation, and in particular how it relates to volunteering. After that, I also want to introduce you to Tracy Phillipson from Be Collective. Be Collective, and again, anybody who's been at any of these sessions will know we don't go through one of these sessions without mentioning Be Collective as our new volunteer recruitment and management platform. But within Be Collective, there is a feature, if that's, and I'm sure that's not the right term, Tracy, but there's a credit system that can be used within this. I know nothing about it, so I'm like everybody else today. I thought it was an opportunity just to hear a wee bit more about what that actually means. And we thought it kind of tied in with our theme today about incentives, rewards, and things like that. So I am just going to hand over to you, Danielle, and ask you just to take the floor. So it's very informal. It's a small group, so we'll just listen to each of you and then we can chat about the issues that it raises. I suspect there's no right or wrong answers or whatever. It's just something that's interesting, an interesting concept and something for us to think about. So thanks, Danielle.
Absolutely, thank you. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay with you. Can everybody see that okay?
Certainly can.
Yeah, fab, okay. Thank you for the introduction as well, and thank you for having me along here today. My name is Danielle Logan and I'm Programme Development Manager at Young Scot. So my lead on our membership services team and the work that we do to connect young people to opportunities through the Young Scot National Entitlement Cards. And I do lead on our rewards programme as part of that as well. So this morning, really, I just wanted to give you a bit of a quick zoom around Young Scot as an organisation, so like our sort of key aims, key areas of work, and touch quite lightly, to be honest, on the rewards programme and how that connects into volunteering, but really happy to answer any questions that you might have or have like a sort of deeper dive session if you wanted to get into kind of ins and outs and deeper insights and feedback that we've had on the rewards programme over the last 7-8 years it is now. But I was mindful that there wasn't a huge amount of time to go into the detail of it today. So I'll give you a quick skip through Young Scot and touch on things, and then can answer any questions that you might have. So who we are, Young Scot as an organisation. We're Scotland's national youth information and citizenship charity for 11 to 26-year-olds across Scotland. We offer youth information, the Young Scot National Entitlement Card, which I've already mentioned, and significant co-design services, making sure that young people are kind of forefront and centre of services as and when they're being designed at Young Scot, but also in partnership with other organisations. So we provide information to young people, and we have been doing that for over 30 years. We're actually coming up to our 40th anniversary soon, so that's been quite novice there. The Young Scot card is available to all young people who are currently residing in Scotland. It's free. You can get it between the ages of 11 to 26. You don't have to be like a sort of long-standing resident. You could be studying or working or travelling in Scotland for a period of time, but it's completely free to young people. And there's just over 710,000 young people with a Young Scot National Entitlement Card in Scotland, and that's around 75% penetration of that age group. So the Young Scot is a bit of a kind of institution and a kind of rite of passage in Scotland. Young people tend to get the card when they go to school, and it supports them through lots of different transitions in their life as they move into adulthood. And just to give you a feel of kind of the engagement that we have with our online services, we get over 2 million hits on our websites a year, and that lovely picture is what the Young Scot card looks like. It's part of the Saltire National Entitlement Card Programme network across Scotland. So it's used for young people through the Young Scot card, and then it's used actually for older people to deliver free bus travel entitlements when you turn 60 as well. So it's like a sort of shared national asset which can be used to deliver different entitlements across the country to different age groups. So in terms of what we do, we provide information, ideas and opportunities to young people across Scotland. We help young people to make informed decisions and choices by connecting them to opportunities locally, nationally and globally. And we empower young people to create and drive positive change. So there's 3 sort of pillars of work that we kind of your different segments of business, which are inform, connect and empower. So all of our work is centred around informing, connecting and empowering young Scots to engage with positive opportunities, including volunteering. And there's different ways that we do that, which I'll go on to talk about. We have internal and external opportunities through rewards, our Get Involved segment of the website, and YS Hive, which is our new service design programme of work. So in terms of inform, we want young people to have increasing access to high quality, relevant and timely information. We want young people to improve their ability to make informed decisions and choices, especially during key transitions in their lives. So that could be going from primary school to high school, moving into your first job, going to college, moving out of home, all of those kind of scenarios and situations. So how do we inform? We inform through our national website, young.scot. So that's our key digital platform. We have social presence across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everything you can imagine, YouTube, etc., etc. And we deliver a lot of campaigns in partnership with other organisations as well. And one of the key areas of our young.scot website is Get Involved. And that's one of the spaces where we share opportunities with young people in Scotland to participate. And that could be an opportunity to be on a youth panel or a youth board. It could be an opportunity to volunteer at an event, all sorts of weird and wonderful opportunities through Get Involved. And that's really delivered in partnership with lots of other organisations across Scotland. We've got specific dedicated Gaelic content on the website. We have an in-line telephone inquiry service and a law line telephone inquiry service. And digital rights, so the 5 rights movement, which you might be familiar with. And we were the national strategic partnership partner in Scotland. is very much front and centre of everything that we do. So making sure that young people know what their rights are online, how they can interact, how they can remove themselves, all that kind of stuff. And all of this work helps to support digital literacy. So the second area of work is Connect, and this is the area which I work within most closely. And Connect is all about increasing access to entitlements, opportunities and services. And these are predominantly delivered through the card, or as the tool as a card of actually reaching young people. So our opportunities are personalised to their geography, experience and circumstances, so we can sort of tailor and target different age groups or young people who might be facing particular challenges, for example. We're aiming to support their well-being. We want to help them to realise their ambitions, and we want to assist them in their day-to-day living. So things like the free proof of age on the card is really important in terms of that. So connecting using the Young Scot National Entitlement Card, as I said, it's free and it's available to all 11 to 26-year-olds. It's normally issued in first year at high school and then refreshed again in fourth year, but you can access the card outside of those parameters, but that's where we get our kind of bulk send outs of cards. It's got a smart chip. It can be used on contactless with various systems. So the idea is that the card gives you access to lots of different entitlements and opportunities. As I mentioned, it's part of a single national smart card system. So it's a shared asset in partnership with Scottish Government and local authorities. It operates as a shared service. So depending on where you live in Scotland, you might use your card in school for cashless catering, but you also might use it to access leisure facilities or library facilities. And then as you get older, it might be to access travel concessions, for example, as well. So as it says, there's multiple entitlements and benefits, which most are universal offer, I should say. And then we have bespoke, more targeted offers. So we use the card to help young people to connect in different ways. I've already mentioned a few ways in which the card can be used, but in addition to that, young people can use their card to vote in the Scottish Youth Parliament elections online, and more localised participatory budgeting, I always struggle to get that out, participatory budgeting exercises locally. As I said, it's a free proof of age card. You can use it to access travel concessions. Discounts is one of our key services which are available to young people through the card, and actually where we kind of originated. We were a discounts project many moons ago, and then grew and kind of evolved over the years, but we have national discounts, local discounts, and are also part of a European network, the European Youth Card Association, which ensures reciprocal access to discounts across Europe for young people. As I mentioned, it's used for cashless catering, which helps to sort of reduce the stigma of young people accessing free school meals. So their entitlement can be put on the cards, and when they go to get their lunch, there'll be no difference between them and the next person whose parents have put credit on the card, for example. Membership, as I've mentioned, is my sort of key area of work, and our membership offer includes our rewards program, which is our recognition loyalty program, online discounts and bespoke packages. So packages of entitlements which are available for specific groups of young people. And we've got 3 packages at the minute which are live. One is around the National Attainment Challenge, so additional entitlements for young people who are within those attainment challenge areas. So to essentially help with their health and well-being with the view to raising attainment. We also have another 2, the Young Carers Package, which is a package of support for young carers in Scotland aged 11 to 18. And we recently launched YS Next, which is a package of opportunities and entitlements for young people who are not currently in work, training or education, so to help them with their transition into employment or a positive destination. So moving on to rewards, which is really the bit which you're probably most interested in. Our rewards program has been around now for coming up for 8 years. We've shifted platforms recently. We used to have a separate rewards platform, but that's now amalgamated into a membership platform. The idea behind rewards was very much to connect young people to opportunities that they may not necessarily have had access to previously, to recognise their participation and to celebrate their achievements as well. And it stemmed from sort of gaming culture and loyalty programs in the private sector, like the Boots Advantage Cards, Tesco Club Card, but also loyalty programs that organisations like Prudential were running. So recognising positive behaviours and giving not young people, it was healthcare, people who were accessing private healthcare and recognition for their positive behaviours. So it did root in trying to encourage positive behavioural change. In terms of like incentivization, it's maybe not the way that we talk about it anymore in terms of incentivizing engaging with a particular activity. We tend to talk about it in terms of connecting young people to opportunities, recognizing their participation and their engagement and celebrating their achievements. And the flip side to it is that when a young person collects Young Scot Rewards points for participation, it means that they can access rewards. So the types of activities that young people can collect points for vary wildly depending on who we're working with, time of year, like all sorts of different kind of variables. There's online activities which are available to young people, and there's offline activities which are available to young people. So this system was developed in partnership with young people, and they helped to design the whole platform. They helped to set the tariff for different activities. So how many points should you get if you sort of micro volunteer online by completing a survey, let's say, which might take you 10 minutes, versus completing your Duke of Edinburgh award, which has a volunteering element within it. What should the kind of point scale be on those different types of activities? So that was developed in partnership with young people. And the key sort of driver for them was that the rewards opportunities that you then gain access to must support your personal development, allow you to try something new, help you to build on a skill that you've already got, but that it shouldn't just be stuff for stuff's sake. So all of the rewards opportunities that you can essentially exchange your points for are looking to support young people in making new pathways or supporting their well-being, supporting their learning, etc. So we've gone through like a number of different iterations of rewards over the years. It's a points-based system, it's a code-based system. So when an activity is completed online, whether it's a survey I said, or whether it's consuming some information potentially and like answering some questions, doing a quiz to try and embed some learning, or it's attending a careers fair, for example, or it's volunteering in their local youth club, a young person will get a points code or a link to exchange their points onto the platform, and then they can use those points to access 4 different types of rewards. So we have a direct claim. So that would be, I have 150 points, which I've gathered from doing 2 surveys, let's say, for example. I would like to claim access to a mindfulness app, for example. Or it could be something of a higher value, which we would tend to offer as a win. So you would enter to win something. So rather than using sort of as higher value points, you would use a nominal number of points, that's 25 points, to enter a prize draw. And that could be something like a kind of larger item, like a bike, for example. Then we have our donate model as well, where we work with partners on donations, and a young person can exchange their points and make a donation towards a charitable cause. And the final one that we have is apply. And our apply rewards tend to be much more kind of unique, money can't buy experiences. So that could be work shadowing the First Minister, for example, or which we have had afternoon tea we had recently with her, which was before all this happened. Or it could be like behind the scenes tour at the BBC, or it could be attending an event like an award ceremony, for example, and having an opportunity to get involved in their social media, like all sorts of weird and wonderful opportunities, like money can't buy experiences. And those those opportunities were very much about kind of leveling the playing field for young people and giving all young people access to those kinds of experiences that they might not necessarily be able to access if, you know, their parents didn't have connections or whatever it might be. So that's how it works in quite simple terms. You collect points online or offline, and then you can exchange them for direct claims, enter to wins, donates, or applies. And everything we do really with rewards is in partnership with other organisations. So it's about connecting and showcasing opportunities, and then sort of facilitating that engagement with the organisation. And in terms of our model for the actual rewards, we have a mixture of sort of budgets and funding for specific packages of rewards. So like the Young Carers package I mentioned and the YS Next package, we've secured funding to be able to purchase opportunities. But we also work on a model with lots of our other partners where they donate opportunities to us. So if it's an experience, that's someone's time. But we also have other partners. So like our discount partners, like Go Outdoors, for example, they might donate a bike to us, and it's an opportunity to also shine a light on their discount. So there's kind of different ways that we work with different partnerships to fill the offer, if that makes sense. There's a lot of kind of technical things that I could go into on rewards, but I feel like that's probably best for another time. But it is worth noting that I've worked with 3 other countries to set up a similar system. So Austria, Romania, Poland, actually now 4. So this might be interesting for you guys to note. The European Youth Card Association network has a new member for England, Wales and Northern Ireland. It's Speakers for Schools. Not sure if you're familiar with them or not, but they currently deliver like work experience opportunities to young people. And they've taken over the license for ACA and are looking at expanding their offer into discounts and a rewards like program as well. So it might be interesting to make that link with you guys to them as well. But that's a bit of a whirlwind tour of rewards. And then finally, empower, the sort of third pillar of Young Scots work, is around ensuring that those young people whose voices are often seldom heard are heard, and that they're involved in designing services and policy. We want young people to be able to share power by becoming system changers and influencers. And we want young people to have increasing opportunities to participate in decision making at the highest levels. And this is being achieved now through our YS Hive network of volunteers. So this is another way in which we're connecting young people to positive opportunities. So we have a range of different projects that young people can get involved in. It could be a relatively short-term programme. It might be a sort of jam, a weekend jam is how they refer to it. So like a 2-day commitment, or it could be a 6-month-long panel or a year-long commission. So there's all sorts of different models of how volunteers can engage in that kind of system change and policy influence. The other way in which we empower young people is through the Young Scot Awards, which is run annually, and international opportunities. So just sort of key final insights, but very briefly. So our Get Involved Awards and YS Hive connects young people to positive opportunities. What we found is that presenting varied opportunities is key to make sure that young people can find the right opportunity for them, which I'm sure you guys will be well aware of. The recognition of participation through points definitely adds value to does add value to the opportunity, and has demonstrated a link between repeat engagement as well. As I said, we showcase new opportunities to rewards and connect young people to new pathways that they may not have had access to otherwise. And meaningful rewards recognise the contributions and support further personal development, reinforcing the value in their actions. And we've had feedback from young people which supports that they feel that the acknowledgement and recognition definitely reinforces the value of the action that they've taken. Recognition of participation in Young Scot Hive through points adds value to the experiences, again, is feedback that we've had. And we're currently looking at creating like a closed group for our YS Hive volunteers. So similar to the Young Carers package or the YS Next package that I mentioned, we want to create a kind of like secure place for our YS volunteers, Young Scotland Hive volunteers, and give them bespoke benefits when they engage. So that would mean that those opportunities would be sort of gated for them, and we want to trial using that as a tool to sort of keep them engaged throughout more longer term projects. So those projects which go on for a few months, 6 months, a year, like as a way is like continuing to engage with them through activities, but then recognizing their ongoing commitment through special rewards for them, essentially. And that's me.
Okay, thanks very much, Danielle. We'll not just take questions at the moment. I think we will go to Tracy and then we'll take questions at the end. I'm very interested in your language in terms of talking about connecting to people or connecting people to opportunities, and the whole idea of rewards. Okay, and certainly the participate, collect, exchange is something that I wrote down in terms of the three key areas there. So Tracy, I think we will just move to you, because I think the whole idea of rewards and credits is maybe something that you can come in and introduce us to in terms of Be Collective's perspective.
Sure, lovely, thank you. And thank you for inviting me today. It was great to hear all about the specific rewards and everything for young people. I used to work in a school and I still miss all that side of things. But yeah, Be Collective has got a sort of a couple of elements around recognising and rewarding volunteers. The standard Be Collective feature for volunteers really is the fact that we have a social record or social CV. So anybody who volunteers with via Be Collective, they begin to log all their volunteering with all the groups they volunteer with, and then at any time they can download the social record, which actually populates the hours they volunteered, the main skills they've learned and developed through that as well. So that's very much just like a simple record, but it's something they can download in a nice format and share with any prospective employers or other volunteering opportunities they're about to apply to. Then on top of that, something we've been developing very closely with Volunteer Now is we have a certificates feature which was just launched last month, and that was very much designed around supporting the Millennium volunteers as they were, and the new name as they will be. And out of all the discussions we had with Volunteer Now, we've really sort of honed that process so that any groups that have access to BC Plus would now be able to actually create quite a bespoke certificate. They'd be able to set their own criteria around numbers of hours or volunteering on particular opportunities, and then create to a degree how it looks as well. And that's all something that then a volunteer would be able to access and download direct from the platform. The other side of rewards and recognition that we've had live on the platform for a little bit, but we're really refining at the moment, partly because we've just had a big change with scheduling and rostering, and we're looking at how all the sort of like hours collation is going to impact with putting credits on the system. But that's something that is now called credits. It was called social currency. And the idea behind that was that a group would be able to add credits to an opportunity when they create it, and those credits could then be those credits could then mean some sort of reward, and it's very much something bespoke that the group could set. And this came out initially in discussions in New Zealand because there were a group there working with young people, and they were trying to see if perhaps they could offer them driving lessons or that type of thing in return for the volunteering and their engagement with the charity. So that's sort of where it came out of. But the way it's been set up on the platform is, as a group, you can set up what those credits mean yourself. So we were thinking perhaps smaller charities might be able to source perhaps free cinema tickets, something from a local business. And then whereas in the past, small charities might have used those to raffle them off or whatever, here instead, they could be rewards that people could gain by doing a certain number of hours of volunteering. So it's very much a case of you being able to set those parameters yourself on the system. And it's something as well we'd like to talk to people about a bit more. So if people are interested in setting up those type of rewards and credits, if anyone would like to arrange to talk to me afterwards, I'd like to start having some conversations with people about how they see that could help them. And then on the tech side of things, as I say, we're refining it at this end to work with the scheduling and rostering as well. So those are the sort of three elements really. The sort of basic initial thing that all volunteers can download this social record. Then the certificates, which again you can make quite bespoke to how you'd like to reward your volunteers. And then the credits again, which is it's just a platform allows you to create something bespoke in there to meet what rewards you have on offer and how you'd like to recognise your volunteers. So that's it for me.
Thanks, Tracy.
Does that make sense?
No, that's grand. There's obviously food for thought within all of this. So I'm just going to open the floor or the screen, whatever you say these days. And if anybody has any questions that they have for Danielle or Tracy, if you've even just a comment or reflection, I'm interested to know what, you know, our volunteer involving organizations that we work with, what they think of the idea of rewards and credits. So anybody, anything they want to add? Jane?
Can I just ask, Danielle, you heard Tracy mention about how we've linked the hours to the certificates and how then that links into the credits piece. And it was one of the conversations that we had with Be Collective whenever, nearly 2 years ago, whenever we started talking about bringing them to Northern Ireland. But we've also been watching Young Scot and Volunteer Now as part of the Youth Volunteering Forum that cuts across the whole of the UK. So we've been those conversations about how incentivization works in terms of volunteering have been ongoing for a long time, and we have kind of been, I don't think that's really what it's all about, and it shouldn't be for the incentive. And, you know, volunteering is about what you want to give rather than what you think that you're going to get back from it as a result of that. But I was quite interested in terms of how it works with the Saltire Awards, because you did have the Saltire card on the bottom of it. So I know the Saltire Awards are run by the voluntary
SCDO now, I think.
But do they link in? So does your hours that the young people give through and gain recognition from the Saltire Awards then link into your Young Scot card as well?
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. So I was going to say that, yes, we link into existing national awards, including the Saltire Awards, Youth Achievement Awards, Dynamic Youth Awards, Duke of Edinburgh Awards. So we're sort of integrated into their system so that when a young person receives their Saltire Award, they'll also be issued with the Young Scot Awards code. And then whether they're signed up or not yet, they'll then be able to use that code. If they're not signed up, then hopefully it's a reason for them to sign up to membership and then access it. And if they are already, then they'll be able to just add their points on. So yeah, I think it's important to say that we're not creating the volunteering opportunities, we're connecting to existing volunteering opportunities. And we've recently connected in with Police Scotland volunteer programme and the Scottish Fire and Rescue volunteer programme as well. So our points are sort of connecting into existing opportunities. It's not that we're creating them, other than the Young Scot Hive opportunities, which are kind of like internal. But yeah, we sort of integrate into existing networks as well. So we're a space to share these opportunities as well with young people that might not have considered doing a Duke of Edinburgh Award or doing like working with Police Scotland volunteers. So we might have activities about those kind of opportunities. So learn a bit more about what it's like to be a volunteer, for example, and then hope that they'll kind of translate and convert over into a new volunteer. So there's a bit about existing audience and a bit about getting a new audience engaged.
And would organisations link it in with their own existing? So would I'm just going to pick on one of the organisations. So likes of guide dogs that Jennifer works with, if they had volunteers there that were volunteering with them, would they recognise them through your Young Scot card, like an internal system like we have with Be Collective?
Yeah, we work with a whole range of different organisations, some like on a kind of one-to-one basis like that. So it could be, you know, an individual organisation delivering up volunteering, and we would provide them with the codes like vouchers essentially. I would agree like the process for them to, or like milestones to recognise the volunteering, but also the process in which we go through to actually get the points to the volunteers. But it is worth noting that somebody could be volunteering with an individual organisation and they could also be working up to their Youth Achievement Awards separate to that. And there is potential for a bit of crossover. And there's been quite a lot of discussion over whether that, you know, that's appropriate, is it an issue? But actually the overriding sort of sentiment and feeling behind it is that if you get double points, it's not a terrible thing. If that makes sense. So yeah, it could be a big network, or it could be an individual smaller organization, or a one-off event. Like it could be a one-off like charity run or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else like to comment?
Okay.
Did you find, Danielle, or would you be aware, certainly over this past few months during COVID, that like would there have been opportunities that you have been aware of with points assigned to them that maybe young people would have got involved through your signposting, your system?
Yeah, I mean, we had to like pivot our services over the last 7-8 months and switch all of our opportunities to online opportunities. And that's in terms of like points providing activities, but also the types of rewards that we can offer. So we can't offer in-person experiences anymore. So we've had to several things and offer like e-vouchers or e-subscriptions, like that kind of thing. It's a bit, in terms of activities, there's been a lot of activities around COVID generally, like what it is, what it means, how what it means for young people and their schooling, their uni, college, you know, all of their living situations. So a lot of our activities have been around informing young people, and there's been a lot of activities seeking the views and experiences of young people. So it's whether you consider, I don't know if you consider completing a survey online micro volunteering or not. That's maybe a different conversation, but there's been a lot of activities available for young people to collect points by sharing their thoughts and experiences with various organisations across Scotland. And Young Scots done their own lockdown lowdown surveys just on the second one round now, and that's the type of activity which has been shared on rewards as well.
Do you think they would have done it otherwise? Sorry, Jane, do you think they would have done it otherwise if there hadn't been the rewards, the incentive to do it?
Okay. That's like when we've compared things like surveys, for example, there's been occasions where we've had surveys which were run outside of rewards versus to only being kind of contained within rewards. Those which have been run through rewards did have a higher take up. But that can also vary on whether there's anything else linked into completion, like the occasions there'll be like a prize draw or something which is attached to completion or something. I think it varies wildly on the topic and how engaged young people are with the topic anyway. We've got like a sort of cohort of super active rewards users who will do everything, you know, because they enjoy the kind of gaming element of rewards as well and collecting the points and stuff. And then new opportunities can bring in different audiences for us, for example, depending on which partner we're working with. So we worked with SAS to promote early registration for student funding. And we did that sort of April, May and June, and we've done that for the last 2 or 3 years. And every time we do that, we see a massive spike in growth of our membership numbers and then engagement with rewards as a sort of consequence of that. So working with big partners to get different groups onboarded into the programme works really well. And then hopefully we can present different opportunities to them. And we have insights and feedback from young people that, you know, I did this thing first and then that introduced me to something else. I wouldn't have seen that otherwise. So yeah, there's sort of different aspects to that, but it's not that we've had, you know, like academic research evaluation supporting like individual journeys or anything like that. So there's sort of evidence and feedback which would support that those journeys are happening. But probably couldn't say hard line for everybody that completing one thing, they go on to do something else, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like one of our benefits, so it sort of connects you into other things.
I was just going to apologise to Jennifer, because Jennifer's with Special Olympics, not guide dogs. I don't know where guide dogs came from. Sorry,
Don't worry, Jen.
Sorry. But I also, my question was tied to Sandra's because the big fear is that whenever young people get the reward, that they drop off then, that they kind of go, yeah, I got what I wanted. And then there's no sustainability there. And that was one of the things that we wanted to, or one of our fears in relation to incentivization was that they would pick up and go. And it was one of the conversations that we had whenever we were talking about the credit system with Be Collective, whenever they were over last year, and particularly with the councils who were particularly keen in it. And I'm not sure what you think, Tracy, but you know, they were talking about volunteers who would come in and do volunteer, but they would volunteer particularly with sport so that they would get the coaching qualification, and as soon as they get it, then they're gone. And one of the things that they were particularly interested in terms of the credits piece was saying to them, you know, we would like you to volunteer for so many hours, and as part of that then you will be able to receive your coaching. Or it was also that in terms of like the t-shirts, and you know, whether volunteers got a full kit, and then they get their kit and then you never see them again after that, and they've just walked off with about £200 worth of clothing on their backs, you know. So and it was about, you know, if they were volunteering for a certain period of time, then they would get the reward of a t-shirt, a branded t-shirt, or whatever that they needed to do their volunteering as part of it. So that was kind of the conversations that were happening in and around the time when we were introducing Be Collective and the credit system that was within that, or those rewards. And it would just be interesting to know whether you had any feedback as to whether you can see that trend in terms of young people getting it and then disappearing, or else whenever they come to 26, does their engagement stop in terms of that community activity?
Or is that to me?
Whoever. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I don't have like personal experience of this to have any sort of evidence, but I could just see that from my own experience of working in a school a number of years ago, that might be the case. So that perhaps you need to consider building something in next for people to carry on. Or you'd also, I guess, sort of hope on a, you know, people being decent level, that they enjoy the volunteering, and then once they've come on for the incentive, you hope that then they keep doing it because they've got that enjoyment that most people do it for anyway. So perhaps it's a doorway in through the incentive, but then once they're in, you know, you hope they get everything else back that people do that makes them keep going anyway. I don't know, that's, as I say, that's no sort of science or background, you know, real evidence background for me, just my own personal feelings.
I think for me, I see it as a way to connect with people who might not otherwise think about getting involved. And I suppose if you see it as a doorway, it's about, well, what happens afterwards? And I think it is about trying to be clear, what exactly are we looking for in return? So, I mean, it's always a balance, because you don't want to, people will come and do things because they want to do it. And if you start to kind of overcompensate them for doing that, it almost has a negative effect and they kind of back off. So I think it's about trying to work out what is it that you want to get. So if it's increase the number of sports coaches, it's about thinking, well, how much do we need to be getting back from them before, how much are we going to look for from them before we start to reward what they're doing? There will always be a drop off. There will always be people who simply come because they want what it is you're offering. But there's also something about ensuring that as far as possible, you're encouraging as many people as possible to have a good experience and to want to continue to give after that initial period. So I think it's about all that good practice stuff that we talk about when we're talking about volunteers anyway, and sort of getting a sense of the person as well, because it'll always be, you will get a sense of this person is simply here until we give them the reward, and then they'll be off. But hopefully they will then go off and share that with other people, if not with us.
Just something I'd add is that it's difficult for us to know whether volunteers are staying on as a result of rewards, because it's just one of the opportunities that we offer. So it's like our activities are not only volunteering, so it'd be quite difficult for us as an organisation to be able to demonstrate that. It would be more the individual organisations which are offering the points that would have that kind of insight.
One of the things that is going through my head, I'm nearly afraid to even voice it, but here goes. You know, we've always talked, certainly in Volunteer Now, we've always described volunteering as a gift relationship. We've always said it's a non-financial relationship. So, you know, are we now moving to a more modern exchange-based relationship? Or is it payment in incentivized clothing? And I suppose the question I want to ask, and particularly I suppose, Danielle, in terms of your experience of this, and this is the bit that I'm afraid to raise, you know, we have always been careful about using incentives to attract volunteers in case it could imply any sort of consideration. Because if there's consideration in a relationship, it can imply a contract of employment where something of material value is exchanged. So, as I say, I don't want to take the conversation too deeply down that, but I just wondered, is that something you've ever come across? And is it an issue that, you know, as we think about this whole credit system and reward system, is it something that we need to be mindful of?
I think probably it would need to be the partners which we work with that would be able to answer that question. So the Saltire Awards, for example, you know, maybe it'd be worth asking them how they feel about that, because we are working with them. We have done with them for the last 3 or 4 years in terms of offering points for those national awards. It's not a consideration or concern as an organisation we have had, but I can understand as volunteering organisations that could and would be something that you would need to consider. My view, sort of, this is more a personal view from working on awards for such a long time, is that young people are not doing these things purely for the points. Generally, you know, these are things that they want to do or have an interest in. Like, this is from speaking to people who've taken up activities, so much more kind of anecdotal, but it's not necessarily, you know, it's not that people are just desperately, hungrily seeking things to claim points for or, you know, earn points for. It's that they have some kind of interest in that activity already. And equally, there's a large cohort of young people who might be doing something already, and it's recognizing what they're already doing. It's not actually that trigger for them to engage with it in the first place. So I think overall, I don't think that for us, the points is acting as the sole enticement. It's just kind of like a cherry on the cake almost, and something to keep people engaged with. Yeah. That's how I would kind of see it.
Yeah, and as we said earlier, it might actually make people think about volunteering opportunities that maybe would not have thought of them before. Yeah.
And a lot of the discussion we had with young people right back at the beginning of this, when they co-designed it, was that they were really keen on, you know, recognizing the things that they're already doing, and for it to almost stimulate in their minds that the things that they're doing are of value and that they'll help them in their sort of future endeavours. And going back to what Tracy was saying about the informal record of achievement, like actually being able to see all these things that I'm doing, which lots of young people just think, oh, that's just stuff that I do, that doesn't mean anything. For them to see that, no, that these are significant contributions that you're making. That was something that came from them, that they, like, that recognition meant a lot, like acknowledgement that your participation is valued. And also for them to think about how they can talk and use that experience to benefit them in the future as well.
Absolutely. Okay, any other thoughts? Vincent, Jennifer, Barbara, Ryan, anybody that hasn't contributed?
The only question I'd have is, you know, like, are there plans in Northern Ireland to sort of develop such a program? And, you know, like, if there are, you know, who would be the body who would sort of take that forward? You know, I think in a conversation, there's two aspects, isn't there? There's the whole question of involving young people in volunteering. But I had sort of understood also from the conversations, also looking at volunteers, you know, like recognizing volunteers and, you know, giving an incentive to encourage people to volunteer. So there's two different aspects, which are both very important. You know, like, I think it's wonderful what you've done in Scotland there. It'd be wonderful if we had such a program in Northern Ireland for young people. And, you know, like, you know, one of the things we often sort of experience, you know, international volunteers coming to us and getting, you know, like a rail pass or a TransLink pass. It's sometimes very difficult to get one, yeah? You know, things like that. And yeah. But yeah, so, you know, like, where do we go from here, Sandra? You know, where's the next step? And with Be Collective, Jane, are you based in Northern Ireland?
I work for Volunteer Now, so we have brought, yeah, I work for Volunteer Now, yes, sorry, but we have brought Be Collective as a platform to Northern Ireland. So it is our volunteering search and volunteer management platform. And we have been working with them. Well, we launched it last January, but we've been working with them in terms of, I suppose, meeting the needs of the sector here. So the credit system, the certificates have just, as Tracy said, have just been launched. So those organisations with Be Collective Plus can use that feature. And we're working in terms of bringing the Millennium Volunteers Programme in line with that. But also then the credit system, I suppose, is coming alongside that once we get the schedule and rostering, so that organisations will be able to use the credit system to reward their volunteers in some shape or form. And whatever they decide to do. But as Tracy said, it's an individual for individual organisations. I think, you know, we've talked about the Young Scot card for many, many years within Volunteer Now, and every time I go to the UK Youth Volunteering Forums, I come back and go, how could we do this? But we've never progressed it further than there's aspects of this that we would really love to do. And the more I hear about it, because I didn't actually realise the full extent of the card in relation to the youth engagement and those different areas like the Hive and all of those different areas, that it's more than just the incentivization part of it. I think there's real key elements of it there that I think that would be really good for Volunteer Now to take forward in some shape or form. But it would be the political buy-in for something like that Scotland's fantastic at, and that we're really not there yet. I don't think.
I also don't know, you know, like, what's going to happen in the future, because, you know, like, with the UK government, they said they're going to look at domestic volunteering, because, you know, projects like European Solidarity Corps, Erasmus Plus, you know, like, the message we get from the government, they're not going to buy into those programs. They want to sort of set up something that's encouraging local volunteering. So that might be a way of bringing things together, that there's, you know, like, these aspects are included in such a project. Yeah,
that's right. And Brexit is having an impact on all those sorts of things. So yeah, lots of things to be explored and decided on in the future.
See, with the B Collective and the credit coming in with Volunteer Now, we obviously Special Olympics were signed up to B Collective, but would the volunteers that we have within our organisation have to have a separate account then with B Collective to get involved in that?
Tracy will keep me right here. No, Special Olympics have an account with B Collective, and therefore your volunteers are there. It's the B Collective Plus that has the credit system linked in with it at the moment. So it's not available to everybody within the platform as yet. Isn't that right, Tracy?
Yeah, that's right. So the credit and the certificates are part of our rewards and recognition module, which is an additional part of the service. Yeah. And at the moment, Volunteer Now have that, and they're very much an overarching partner with us on developing the certificates function and then later the credits. But it is a function that people can add on. So it is an add-on, and it's something, particularly the credits, we'd perhaps like to sort of flesh out a little bit more first and talk to people individually about.
Just watch this space in relation to it, Jennifer, but it's, if you're a B Collective Plus user, you would have access to it, but not at the moment.
That's correct.
Okay, everybody, our hour is up, and I know there's lots of other things or lots of other angles we could take in relation to this topic, but we'll leave it there. I will send out to each of you some information after this. So Vincent, you will get more information about B Collective, and I will give you the contact person if you want to actually have the conversation and find out how it could work for yourselves. And also just to say that our last vote of 2020, what a year, is next Thursday, and it's about remote volunteer management, motivating volunteers from a distance, which I think is what we have all been doing over this past 8-9 months or whatever number of months it is. So that's our last session of the year. As I said, everybody, if there's a topic that you have identified that you think we should be addressing, please drop me a line because we will be planning our 2021 sessions very soon. So all I'll say now is thank you to Danielle and to Tracy for contributing today and for giving us some food for thought. And yes, we have a little bit of work to do in Northern Ireland to progress it a little further. And so do watch this space. Jane, is there something you want to say?
No, that was my hand clap.
Oh, it was your hand clap. Yeah. I thought you were waving at me saying, let me speak.
No. This is one of those buttons on mine.
Okay, well, listen, everybody, thank you so much for contributing today, and do stay in touch with us, and I'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Bye.
Nice speaking to you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Danielle. Thanks, Tracy.
Thank you.